Bang! Neevesknives. I'm Jared, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen, live on Neevesknives. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, all is well. So I figured we would sit here and talk some knives. I know it's been a little while since we've done fragrance of the week and story time, so we're gonna make sure we hit those tonight. I promise. Kara's running me my water right now.
Here you go, love.
Thank you, baby.
You're welcome, love.
Appreciate it. So, I do have a video tomorrow that's going up that I put a bit of work in. Not crazy, but I did put quite a bit of work in. I actually had a buddy of mine come down and do a couple little B-rolls with me because it's not too crazy or anything like that, but do some B-roll stuff because it's a self-defense knife video, and I hope it does really well. We'll see how it goes. But I got some knives here I've never even shown on the channel. And then a couple other ones that have been on the channel that are going into that video that I've been holding on to for a while, specifically for this video. So hopefully it's really, really cool. Now, as far as Patreons go, I know you guys are waiting for the MSI. I'm going to pull the winner. So if you're a Patreon and you never entered that giveaway, make sure you enter it, because tomorrow I'm pulling the winners. There's going to be 3 winners. One person's going to win the MSI, and then 2 other people are going to win something else special. So we haven't said exactly what it is. We haven't put to the side, so we know what it is. You guys just don't know what it is, but it's going to be a little surprise, so that should be fun. He shows nice knives in the shorts. I appreciate it. I try to show nice knives in every video, at least as much as possible. But they can't all be winners. And I did not know the price on this, so you guys know yesterday I did the USA made knife video, right? And the Schrade Truex was in it, right? Well, I think I said $150 is what they were going for. Well, you can get them right now, I think, for like 130 or something like that. So they are even more affordable. If you go in my video from yesterday, you can see it linked down in the description, which is not a bad price for this, considering it's USA made. I still do think it's a little bit rough around the edges, but not to the extent that it's not worth $130 for USA made S35VN G10 steel. Because when you start thinking about, okay, Benchmades, right? Or no, let's just say Spyderco's, right? S30V from Spyderco, that's going to be like $170, $160, $170. Granted, the fit and finish is better. Granted, the heat treat's better. Granted, everything's better, but it's still steel G10 and then a steel. So, this is not a bad price, but you are getting what you pay for. So the $130 from the USA, like I said, the screws pop up right there a little bit. I'm not a big fan of that. The geometry is as thick as a brick. It's bad. But, some people like that. And there was a once upon a time where a knife like this was exactly what I needed as far as geometry goes. Granted, I like things a little bit more slicey nowadays, but that doesn't mean I don't like a good hard use knife here and there. And I also understand it. I couldn't tell you how many knives I've broken on the job. Like, I'm talking about like a lot. I've snapped blades. I've just worked them to death, broken liners, just everything. So something like this would be great. It's got a nice, strong locking mechanism. It is pretty thick. You could probably do a little bit of light duty prying, granted, as long as the heat treat's on point, because I know a few of the blades I snapped at work was all bad heat treats, because it wasn't like I was doing something so egregious that it should have snapped. Maybe a little bit, but not to that extent, unless the heat treat was really bad. Chris Reeve Knives Sabenza. I don't have my Sabenza sitting right here. It's over on my other bench, but yeah, Sabenzas are dope as shit, but they definitely are up there with the price, but it's kind of understandable considering what you're getting. You're leaving the stream, Lucas? All right, looks like you've made a lot of comments. What do you do for work? This is what I do for work. So what I was just talking about just now, that was when I did construction. So I did construction my whole life. Now I do this. I do YouTube. Taxing knives. I don't know what you mean. Shabazz is a weirdo. I don't know Shabazz personally, but we've never had a bad interaction. We've been pretty cordial, and he's been nice to me, so I've been nice to him. Oh, that's what we're doing, Lucas. We're talking knives. We're talking knives. Just unsubbed. You keep rambling. Just unsubscribe. Thank you. It's a damn live. What am I supposed to do? All right. Well, I appreciate you subscribing in the first place, bud. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I usually come in and I talk for a second, and then I start going through the comments to allow people to come in. Um, what's up, Double Detent? What's up, Robert? I seen Robert was in here pretty early. I appreciate you joining. I know he's probably just listening in the background. I do appreciate it. But yeah, if you guys want to chat, go ahead and chat. I'll answer whatever you got to say. I do. I was gonna show the concept Fenrir. I haven't showed this knife in a little while, and I do like this knife. And I do want to go back to my self-defense knife video here in a minute. That we're posting, that I'm posting tomorrow. So keep an eye out. If I forget to say anything, you'll see it tomorrow. But the concept Fenrir, right? I do like this knife quite a bit, but I have a couple issues that keep it out of my pocket. And if those two issues were just dealt with, I totally would carry this thing so much more. So my issue, let's go into it. So one, the jimping is so slick. Like, it almost doesn't make sense. Why not just make sharp jimping there? And then the detent is strong. Granted, I could probably tune the detent a little bit better, but it makes it to where it's not fun. Like, it's like you're like fighting not to slip when you crack it open. And it's not bad when you first open it. It's bad after you've opened it up a bunch of times, and then you start realizing, like, yeah, I don't, you start getting sick of it, kind of, it's just something that winds up becoming a pet peeve. Other than that, though, the ergonomics are fantastic. I love how you can choke up. I love how you can get the gas station knife fighting grip, in your hand, your palm kind of lays right inside that little groove. I love that it's a reverse bolster lock. You guys notice that? It's a reverse bolster lock. That's unique. You don't see that too often. What's up, dog? Johnny? Appreciate you guys joining. I'm carrying one out. Oh, you're carrying one of these right now? How's your detent? Is your detent super strong, or not super strong, but is it strong? Thoughts on the Rosa Parks exclusive Boker OTF? I have no idea what that even is. Is that a joke? I have no idea. I haven't heard of it. Mike told us to ask you about his smelly shoulder to see if he's getting a shoulder replacement. I do not know if he's getting a shoulder replacement. Yeah, the knife of the day, Kizer Mad Tonto. You know what? I got one right here, not far away, because I agree, man. Lone Star, the Mad Tonto is the shit, ain't it? It's such a good knife. This is one that I've already screamed about so many times. I almost want to put it in more videos, but then I feel like sometimes if I rave about a specific knife too much, put it in too many videos, people start getting sick of it. So I try not to do that, but this is one, man, I could put in like every video. It's so good. It is a damned designs, and you can see it, but the ergonomics are it's so comfortable in the hand. You can choke up this drop point Tonto. So it is a Tonto, but the beautiful thing is, since the tip drops down, you can use that tip like in a good way. And then it's so thin right here, and it's thicker right here because of the flat grind, because it's a dual grind. So you can trap materials almost like a recurve. Then they executed the detent just so good. Has a cool sound. I love the Mad Tonto. You can find it on my Blade HQ link, I believe, down in the description. If not, you can definitely find it in my store. You just gotta search it. Hey, is the White Mountain Knives deal of the day a good deal? Looks cool. Let me grab the name. Yeah, grab the name. I'm not sure which one it is. Just got a new Asher with 20 CV. My new daily. Yeah, hell yeah. I haven't had a new Asher in a while. I should reach out to them, because I used to get all their new stuff, but I haven't lately. So maybe I need to reach out. How to tune the detent. So the way you tune a detent on a frame lock or a liner lock is I have a video on it if you want to see in depth. So just watch my video on it. But basically, you take the scales off and you take the lock bar and you have to take off the over travel stop. So there's a thing there probably stopping you from bending the lock bar out. That's called the over travel stop. Take that off and then take the lock bar and bend it out just a little bit. That's how you would weaken the detent. Now, if you want to strengthen the detent, then you take it and you bend it the opposite way. But a little goes a long way. So don't think you have to like bend it. You don't. You just slightly bend it over, put it back together, see how it is. If you need to adjust it a little bit more, adjust it a little bit more. But in like a little is a lot, so you don't need to go far. If it's a button lock, then you just take the spring out and you stretch the spring. That'll make the spring harder to compress, which will make a stronger detent on a button lock. So every lock can usually be adjusted a little bit, if not a lot of it. Chris Jones with the 2 bones. Thank you, brother. Got some strange birds in here tonight. It's all right. We like the strange birds. I saw a sharpening video that said to sharpen the secondary edge because it makes it thinner and performs better, but of course would ruin the finish. Thoughts? That would be like a regrind. So that's at least to my understanding of the way I'm perceiving what you're saying is that would be a regrind. So yes, you can do that. I would recommend doing that on a belt because it would be faster because it takes so long to do that. I've done it on a stone before and it takes a long, long time. But no, what I would recommend is if you want better cutting performance out of said knife, say if it's a specific knife and you just want a little bit better cutting performance, lower your edge angle. So say your edge angle, if it's 30 degrees per side or 25 degrees per side, lower that bitch down to about 17, 15 degrees per side, and that will massively improve your cutting performance. That's the way I personally do it. But if you do have something that's super, super thick, like say my Spartan Harsey, this was reground, but I sent it in to get reground on a belt. So it's professional. So it's $60. It was $60. Took 1 week. So, you do have to weigh your options, but I wouldn't just throw it on a stone and do it. It's almost like they're trying to defeat the purpose of the jimping in the first place. I know what you mean. It doesn't make sense to me because it's like, with a front flipper, right? Specifically with a front flipper, you are reliant on that jimping. Like, it's not like when you have it open and you have jimping right here on the spine. Like, yeah, you can use that, but do you need it? No. But with a front flipper, you actually need that jimping like that. It actually catches you, when you slide your finger across. And yeah, to me, I think that should be something that if you're going to have a front flipper, no, if you're going to have a front flipper, you should pay attention to that heavily. Like, that should be super, super important. I have the same complaint with mine. Yeah, I think they just tuned them a little bit too strong. The thumb studs are good, but even the thumb studs are a little slippery. Same thing. They're a little bit slick. They work. Don't get me wrong, they work. So I'm not complaining about those. But I could just tune the detent lighter and make it a little bit lighter. That would help. I bet you I'd love it a lot more if I did. But the jimping, man, would be the way to go. Order that Urban EDC Cuvist on in the blue Ani Sagaha. Yeah, no, those knives are dope. I got both of them. You know what? That little slip joint one, man, that little sucker is pretty damn cool. I actually like. I'm not like I like slip joints, but like I'm not like the biggest slip joint guy. But that little fucker is pretty cool. After a few good bangs, it loosens up. Wouldn't that only affect the lock bar, Lone Star? Kizer Kobold too. So I got a couple Kobolds. The Kobolds are really good, but I'll tell you what, you want to talk about a big difference is that aluminum one. So I have the micarta one and the aluminum one, and the aluminum one, I don't know what it is about putting the aluminum on there, but it makes that knife feel like way more premium than even the micarta one. I don't see how slamming your knife open would help the detent tuning. It usually doesn't. Slamming it open? I mean, like, open? No. But one thing you can do is you can open and close like this to break in a detent. So if you have a detent, right? You open up a knife and you can hear it gritty. like it's like gritty, obviously oil it first, right? If what I'm saying is if oil's not going to fix it, because usually if it's gritty, it just needs oil. But let's say it's not that, and maybe like you wanted just a little bit more drop shutty, what you can do, especially on a frame lock. Frame lock, this is going to work the best. What's up, baby?
Aren't you technically breaking in the little divot, not the actual ball when you do that? Or
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it. Yeah.
And you go,
so when you have
thunder a little bit, let them know I still got it back here, you know?
Yep. When you have the detent ball right here, you could open the knife up and apply a little bit of pressure onto the detent ball and open and close, open and close. Do it like 100 times. Just keep going. You apply a good amount of pressure, you know, because what you're doing is you're breaking a track in. So that's one way you can do it, to break in a track for a detent. But you might after a minute want to clean it and then re-oil it and stuff. I see I'm far back, so I'm gonna catch up a little bit. That would reduce or increase lock bar tension, not actually messing with the detent. No, it does. I tune detents all the time. That would reduce or increase lock bar tension, not actually messing with the detent seating in the lock bar, but instead of how much pressure it pushes the detent ball into the right. That's how it makes a stronger detent. That's why if you ever notice, like, there's a lot of knives that have super drop shuttiness action. Most of them, not all of them, most of them have very light lock bar tension. That's how they do that. Like if you look at most knives across the board that are fall shut action, they have very light lock bar tension. So if you make that lock bar stronger, it won't be as ridiculously smooth. Now sometimes they can do it with a light lock bar tension and still have a strong detent because the detent ball size. So there's different ways to do it, but the tension is still a huge factor because of how much pressure it takes to pop that ball out of the hole is the detent. So if there's more pressure, then it's going to apply more pressure and it's going to take more pressure to break it, which, you know, and if you have a detent track already kind of broken in, then it's not going to slow it down from closing, especially on certain knives, like depending on the type of knife it is and everything. Like some knives, like the blade is just so heavy and everything, and it has a nice track. So if it's a button lock, it's just going to fall shut anyways. So many knife people in here. How many people do we have in here? I guess I should turn on my phone so I can see if we have any member donations. Sorry guys, give me 1 second. Just popping this up. Look at your boy. We got 106 in here. Shout out to everybody. Don't forget to hit the damn like button. White Mountain deal of the day is the Kizer Spot. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Spot. I mean, it's okay. There's a few Kizers like there's a few of them that I like. I think they're good knives. I think they're just not like, you know, something to rave about. Like that doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're great. You know, they're just knives. Let me make sure I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah.
Serious comment.
Okay.
I know I don't have those often, but I have a genuine serious comment. I meant to tell you that we got a message, like I think it was yesterday or the day before. I forgot to tell you about it. But it was somebody completely independent of anyone who I've talked to before that sent a video of a knife failing. It was just failing past the lock bars, the frame lock, right? I'm looking at the knife and they're like, hey, is this normal? Da-da-da. I'm looking at the video, you know, because they're kind of like spine whacking it, just barely pushing on the spine of their finger. It's failing. I look a little closer. Guess what knife it is? Guess.
I don't know. What was it?
The hole.
The hole.
It was the hole.
Yeah.
Now,
well, I did hear that the Holt guys said that they would take care of that, and that's not normal.
Well,
I know at Blade Show we heard something different. But I think after that,
gave it back, I think.
No, what I'm saying is that I think after that, I think they got some flack, and I think they started changing their tune. Like, hey, we need to do something about
it. Doesn't happen. Everything. That comment, you mean? That it's
no, I'm saying the comment about them saying that they will take care of any issues with it, and that that's not normal. That they're not saying that that's normal, and that they won't do anything about it. They will absolutely do something about it, and that it's not normal. That's what they came back and said later.
Oh, Yeah, because the original comment
was that it was normal.
It can happen, and it's sometimes normal for their knives.
Right. Hey, Jared, I just received my Jens Anzo sheepsfoot fixed blade that he just released. It's the 25th anniversary of his first knife, which started his career. Hell yeah. Very cool, man. Good for you. There's some knives out there that are just, they're special pieces, and it's awesome when you can get it in your collection. And at the very least, you know, not saying that you would want to sell it or trade it, but in the future, if you needed to, right? If you needed, like, maybe you have an opportunity to get something else that's like maybe something you've always wanted or a once in a lifetime opportunity, you have that in your roster. Just make sure you keep it nice. That's why certain knives, I do think, like, I understand why some people, like, I have so many knives that I have more than enough knives to beat the shit out of. Like, I have so many knives, I can just beat the shit out of whatever I want. So I don't have to beat the shit out of everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, now, personally, I like to use most of my knives, but there are in some cases knives where it's like, I don't really need to use this. I'm just going to keep this precious. You know, I'm going to keep this I guess, somewhat of a safe queen. Maybe in the future I could sell it, trade it, you know, whatever. But only because I have, you know, knives that I have $1,000 knives I beat the crap out of. So, you know, it has nothing to do with the price. It just has to do with whether or not, you know, I feel the need to do it. Jared, I've been having a few problems with my new Paragon Warlock, and I'm wondering if you can help. I'm ambidextrous whenever I open it upside down, clip up. Only one handle will open. So one thing, make sure, even if the rest of my hand is fully off the handle, that's what I was going to say. Only when I flip it upside down to upright. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have mine here. I loaned mine out to Mike. So I don't have mine here to do it myself to see if mine would do that. I don't think mine would, because I've held it upside down a lot and just push the button and the blade just falls out. So, yeah, check your hand position, oil it, do all those things, make sure, you know, because it could have maybe something's gunked up and it's just not flowing properly. So maybe try that. But yeah, I don't know. Or you know what, man, just contact them. I'm sure you can send it right to them. They seem like they're pretty cool, and they're here in the USA, so it wouldn't take you much to send it to them and have them replace it or fix it or whatever. I love knives. I wouldn't say I'm a collector, but I have a couple knives, only 33. Yeah, that's a few. That's a few knives for sure. Somebody asked me, like, how many knives do you have to have a collection, right? And I said, I think at the time you have to have 10, at least 10, right? Like, you could have 5 and you do have a collection, I guess. You have a collection starting, I guess. But in order to really have a collection, I think you have to have at least between 5 and 10, right? Because you have to have one for different purposes, right? Now, I do think you can be a knife guy and not be a knife collector, because you can be a knife guy that has a knife for every different purpose, but you're not a knife collector. You just have a knife for every different purpose, you know, kind of like, you know, just because you have a kitchen knives doesn't mean you're a chef, right? But I do think when you start getting multiple different kinds of knives for different purposes or for the same purpose, you start becoming a collector pretty quick. I've been collecting since I was a kid, so thanks for the Kizer spot thoughts. I like to pick up a decent budget knife, so helping me avoid. Yeah, I would avoid that one, to be honest, Ray. I would personally wouldn't recommend it nor buy it myself. I do have one, but I wouldn't really recommend it or buy it. It's just, one thing about it is it's really thick behind the edge. It actually, you wouldn't think so, because it's such a lightweight knife, and we're talking about the Kizer spot, guys. The knife is a small, lightweight EDC knife that should absolutely have thin geometry, and it has thick geometry. At least mine does. So that's one reason why I wouldn't really recommend it. But there's so many great knives out there. That's another thing, man. There's just so many great knives, because hell, for around the same price, you can get the Civivi Cubit. This son of a bitch is badass. That geometry is insane. Crazy cutting geometry. And then if this isn't your style, there's a ton of other stuff. There's a lot of great knives out there. I'm struggling a lot with sharpening my Gerber strong arm. Any tips? Yes, couple tips. One, it's a Gerber. Throw it in the garbage. No, I'm just joking. I did hear that the strong arm's a good one. Okay, so I'll say that. Everybody that I've talked to, the Gerber Strong Arm is like their best knife. But for the most part, I would say stay away from Gerber to the most extent. But it's the Gerber Strong Arm, so it gets a pass. It's super thick behind the edge. So since it's super thick behind the edge, it's going to take a long time to sharpen. That's just the way it is. That's the way geometry goes. Like if you take a thick knife, a thick edge, in a super low quality steel, like say 440C, let's say it's 440C, and you take a super thin knife in 10V, which, you know, should theoretically be a lot harder to sharpen. The 10V is going to sharpen up 100 times faster than something like the Gerber Strong Arm, because it's so thick. The geometry is so thick, especially if you do a low angle. So I'd say if you also, the one problem you could also have, and I'm not saying that this is, you know, your situation, but there's a possibility that the heat treat could be bad, because it's a Gerber. That's one thing. So they're not known for the best heat treats. I've had many of them, and I've snapped them in half because of poor heat treats. So if it has a bad heat treatment, that's going to make it a little frustrating to sharpen. I'll say that. So if I was you, I would go back at it with a higher angle and see if you can't get a burr. Because if you can get a burr with a high angle, then you can get a burr with a low angle. But see how it sharpens up with a higher angle, so that it sharpens up faster too. So I don't know what angle you're trying to sharpen it at, but like try like 25 degrees per side or something. You know, it's a hard use knife, so 25 degrees, it should be fine. PM2, what else would you carry? If I had a PM2, what else would I carry? I mean, you can go with the Mannix. You can go with the Yojimbo. You can go with the Hogue Deca. We talking about just USA made knives. If not, you can go with Taiwan. The Quiet Carry Drift. LC with LC 200N. You can also go with the Quiet Carry 9. My baby. This thing's badass, man. Woo, I love that one. If you like hole deployments, you can go with the Giant Mouse Jutland. This thing is fire. This thing is really good. And this clip point is actually really good for EDC. But there's a lot of good stuff out there. Gunslinger in hand. Mine's not too far away. That Gunslinger's badass, man. I absolutely love this knife. Oh, I stand by it too, man. It's their best one yet. They're not going to be able to beat it until they come out with something similar that is a drop point, spear point, or Warncliffe or sheep's foot. It's the only way. It's the only way this thing's going to get beat. Anyone know when the Rhea EXO gravity knife are getting restocked? You're talking about the EXO M, not the K. I do not know. I try to keep up with it so that when they drop, I can make a post. So hopefully, but I only do it if it's my affiliates. So as soon as I see them drop, I'll make a post. Just make sure you hit the bell so that everything I post, you get a notification for. But I try to post as soon as possible when I see something coming. But they what's weird about those is in many cases you don't know they're coming. They kind of just drop. There are sometimes I have a notification, like I know like a week ahead of time, 2 weeks ahead of time, but I don't know an exact date. So, but hopefully soon. What it seems like is like every 40 days, it seems like they drop. 40 to 60 days they drop. I'm a world-class chef. I cooked when I was stationed in Germany and Korea. That's world class right there. What I literally convex the edge. Okay. What I literally convexing the edge is what most people are going to do when they're freehanding until you really, really get freehanding down. Like I can do a V grind on a knife, but it did take a long time. And most people that think they're V grinding, they're not. They're convexing still. It's just a slight convex. I will say, after testing so many V grinds and convex, like perfect convex and perfect V grinds, the best is a happy medium. It's a slightly convex edge. So it's not convexed and it's not a V grind. It's slightly convexed. Those are the best. I got my $600 Medford T01 Karambit, number 84 of 105. Yeah, I'm flexing a bit tonight. I got the smooth criminal right next to me. Because I'm a smooth criminal. Jared, what do you think about the giant mouse ace reel? I like it. I like it. I got it right here. It's great. It's slim. Focus. It's slim, right? And but it's long. So it's a knife it's very wieldable. You know what I mean? Like you can slice with it, you can turn it around, and you can cut straps with it comfortably because it's not thick. Like when you grab something thick, it can be a little frustrating to turn around and cut backwards, you know, because it's just too wide right here. But with this, it's perfect. The action's really good. The blade shape's perfect for EDC. It's super lightweight, so you know you can carry it in jogging pants. So I like it. I like it quite a bit. Granted, I wish the Magna Cut was a little bit harder, but I'm not mad at it. You know, it could be better, but it also could be worse. You know, sometimes you got to take things. You got to take the good too, right? You know, it's like, okay, yeah, it could be better, but it could be fucking worse too, you know? So, it's not that big of a deal. Oh man, another some banger. Jared, the TS 377. It's a hell of a work knife, even though it doesn't look like it. It's super slicey. Well, let's check it out. You say 377? What? Oh, shit. 377. I did this. White Mountain Knives. Let's see if we can find one on Amazon. I'll just pull this picture up. Damn it, it's at White Mountain Knives. Hard. I hate to show. I'm just, man, you guys can look it up. I'm not gonna sit here and shout them out. Screw it. I'll be a nice guy today. I don't know, man. It looks a little different to me. I'm not sure how much I like it. I mean, it's okay. I'm not I like that the Tonto drops down. I just don't like that the secondary tip isn't very pronounced. It's like, why even have it? Why is there a secondary tip right here? Why even have that? Because you could have just did a drop point at that point. You know what I mean? If this secondary tip isn't pronounced, what's the point of it? Right? Think about that. What is the point of it? Now, if it's a dual grind, but this isn't, it looks like a dual grind, but these are the same thicknesses. This is a flat grind and this is a flat grind. They're both flat grinds right here. So they just have a swedge down, you know, right here making the Tonto. But other than that, it's the same grind. So to me, I'm looking at it like it should have been a drop point. But maybe it's a good knife. I don't know. I haven't tried it. Having fun is a great reason for collecting anything. Learning stuff as well. That is very true. Is that why Gerber hired in Boss for the heat treatment? Possibly. I just, I haven't, let me be clear. I haven't tested Gerbers in a while. So I'm not trying to speak out of pocket against them and talk shit about them. I just know in the past I have, and I've never yet, so maybe it'll happen, but I've yet to have ever had a Gerber that was good, that did well. I'd never had a strong arm, so that could be the reason, but I've never had one that was good. I've never had one that the heat treatment didn't seem shitty, or was absolute dog shit, one of the two. I've never had one that that I would have recommended over other knives, right? Like I can think of a bunch of knives right now that I could recommend and that would compete with each other, right? Like I could just easily recommend them. I've never had a Gerber that I could just easily recommend for those reasons. Thank you for the tips. And yeah, I got the Gerber as a birthday gift. I plan on getting some Kizers and Cold Steel soon. Very cool. Yeah, man, there's nothing wrong with having a knife that, like, dude, right now I got M-Tex in my collection. Okay, let's be clear. I got fucking M-Tex in my collection. And I literally made a video telling you guys to stay away from them. So there's nothing wrong with having, some knives in your collection that that you might want to move up from eventually, right? But you need a knife, just like even like kitchen knives, right? It's like, how many kitchens have shitty kitchen knives and shitty chef knives? Just because they have them, that doesn't mean they're not going to eventually get a good one or a better one, or don't want to eventually get a better one. You gotta use what you got, right? And polishing it with leather and CBN. I don't know what he means. It's been the result of a divorce and kept me from doing stupider things. I have no idea what you're talking about, but that's hilarious. Sorry about your divorce. Anyone else order a Pyrite XL? The green micarta version looks sick. I'll tell you what, man, I got a lot of pyrites right now. A lot of pyrites. So those titanium ones, the convex titanium ones are really cool. The new quiet carry, yeah, I've been loving the new quiet carry. You already know that. You already know that. This is a beast. This thing is so badass. This is a good work knife right there. I like the 9 too, so I like them both. Hey, mom, I'm doing great tonight. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for coming in, Mom. Bob Smith says, will the Jutland come out in carbon fiber eventually, or if it's not part of the original drop, then no? I don't know. I don't think so. Probably not. But I mean, it's possible because the Jutland's doing pretty good, I think. So I don't see why it wouldn't. But if anything, I think it'll be a full tie version. That's what I think they'll do before anything. But I don't know. It's hard to say. I do have direct contact with them, so I could ask, but Shaman 15V or Sabenza 31 large and Magna Cut. Ooh, that's tough, man. That's tough. That's tough. I would say it depends on what you want. Both of them hold value good. But they're different, very different knives, even though they're both somewhat tougher use knives. Like they're both work knives for sure. They're both tougher use knives. Oh damn it. Personally, I think I would probably go the large Sabenza because they're doing their Magna Cut 63 to 64 HRC or 64 to 65. I think it's 64 to 65 actually. But the Shaman 15V is a beast, man. I like the Shaman. I love the Shaman. I don't have one in 15V, but I'd love to have one. I do not have a dog, but I absolutely want another dog. As a lot of you guys know, I used to do dog training, so I am a dog fanatic. I love dogs. I love animals, period. I am an animal lover, 100%. I've always have been since I was a little kid. So dog training was just something that I took on naturally because I'm so good with animals. But no, we do not have a dog right now. Hopefully in the future. Uh-oh. I'm finally getting good edges sharpening with the Workshop Pro. Fuck yeah. Good for you, man. Good for you. Keep it up because it's the little details, that take time to kind of to not only learn, but to get used to, after you see the effects of the same thing you do over and over and over and over, you repeat the ones that work and you stop doing the ones that screw you up. But that takes time. You can watch all the videos in the world. Yes, they're going to help. I have tons of sharpening videos. Watch them. But you still have to have, the stone on the edge or the edge on the stone. But good for you, man. Keep it up. Bro, I don't have a lot of expensive pocket knives, but there is one knife that I am wanting to get. It's the Civivi Gravity Knife or pocket knife. The Civivi Gravity Knife. What is the Civivi Gravity Knife? Civivi Gravity Knife. Oh, you're talking about the the Elementum. The Elementum, the large Elementum. Yeah, that's badass. The Elementum button lock, the Civivi Elementum button lock. I 100% recommend that knife. I love that knife. That knife is so dope. The whole platform, take away the lock, take away the action. That knife is almost a perfect knife. The blade shape, the grind, the geometry, the ergonomics, everything. Like it's just so good. Sharp control and plunge grind, tip performance, everything. Blade steel heat treatment, like across the board. It's badass. And then you got that the gravity knife action where basically you just have to push a button, and it swings. Some people love it, some people don't. I personally like it. I think it's unique, and I'm always happy to have something unique. Founder of Giant Mouse lives in Lansing, Michigan, and went to MSU. Well, I'm not in contact with him. I'm in contact with somebody else that works for them. The Jutland looks looks like a 110, maybe a wood handle option. It does have a 110 kind of vibe. I get it. It has a hunting knife type of vibe, but that's what's kind of cool about it. So for the outdoorsman type, this is a great knife because not only is it prepared for that type of stuff, hunting, fishing, things like that, it's also really good for EDC because the tip doesn't go whoosh all the way up here. It stays nice and low, so it's relatively easy to use. And, you know, it's relatively slim and very easy to carry. So I love it. But yeah, I see what you mean, though. Thanks for your advice on the Warlock. Unrelated, but what are your thoughts on the Kizer chili pepper? So I do have a chili pepper. So I'm not a big fan of that blade shape, the Persian style blade shape, unless it has a canted blade. So like this one. See how this cants down? So if I'm holding it, you can see how the blade goes below my hand, right? And I'm just naturally holding it right now, right? So when I'm holding it like this, you can see the tip, I can easily get to it. Well, with a lot of Persians, they're hard to get to the tip. So, and I use my tip a lot, you know, I'm a tip kind of guy. So, um, I'm not a big fan of that blade shape. The knife's great. The knife has a cool sound. The acoustics are great. If it's your style, it's awesome. It's really good. It's just not really my style for carry, especially with so many other great blade shapes. All right, I'm gonna try to catch up, guys. Sorry, I'm so backed up. Arrowhead says, Jared, I'll loan you my rat if you want to pull your hair out trying to train him. I bet you would. I bet you would. But you know what, though? I'd have him trained up real nice, like real nice. I had a neighbor's dog escape and attack my own dog and had to kick some doggy ass. Good for you. Good. I've had to do it too, man. I completely understand. And, you know, there's times where I'll fucking kill a dog. I'll tell you what, I love dogs to death and I understand them like better than most people. And there's situations where I would understand what needs to happen. Like in many cases, you know, you can end a dog fight just by literally grabbing both dogs and putting one dog's head in the other one's ass and that one's head in the other one's ass. And I know it sounds weird, right? But just by doing that, I've ended probably 24 dog fights that exact way. Because I learned it in dog training school. So, not saying it'll work every time, but it's got a good track record. Now, but there's also little things to notice that's happening in order to distinguish whether or not that's what you should do. But there's times where a dog is just entirely way too aggressive for the situation. And, you know, if you're the man standing there and, you know, it's your kid, it's your dog, it's your girl, whatever, you know, it's your job to put that fucker down real quick. So, you know, and sometimes you got to do it. And you know, I wouldn't think twice about it. As much as I love the dog and I wish I could have trained it, I wish I could have been the person to raise it. But the fact is I wasn't. And at the time, you know, in the time, the dog is out of control and something has to happen. Um, thank you for telling me that a knife. Wait, thank you for telling me is that knife so good right now. I really want to buy it. Which one? Talking about this one? There's a lot of good ones, man, but I'm not sure which one we're talking about. Um, what is the fix up? Wait, what is the fix for up and down play on a button lock? Up and down, so just stretch the spring. So if you open it up and you feel the movement this direction going like that, then take the thing apart. If it's a spring button lock, it most likely is. This one's a liner, so there's different ones. If it's a liner, bend the liner out just a little bit, increase the strength of it. But if it's the spring kind, like the kind Civivi and we uses and stuff like that, just take the spring out of the button and stretch it a little bit. give it a good stretch. Not too much. You don't want to break it. And if you do break it, which you shouldn't, they're pretty easy to stretch. Like anybody can do it. But if for some reason you can buy button lock parts all over the internet, like seriously, so it's not a big deal. But that's what you do. Just stretch the spring a little bit. But yeah, you can get new springs for like $3, maybe even less. You probably get like a dozen for $3, to be honest. McNees Mac 2 or the EMP Nimble. I think you'll like the Nimble more, but the McNees is USA made. So I'd probably go with the McNees, but I would say that if it doesn't matter to you, you'd probably like the EMP more. How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. I appreciate it, Rochambeau. The YouTube land. What's up, Ian? What the hell just happened? There we go. Uh-oh. I gotta find out where I was. I don't even know where I was. Oh, here we go. All right. Best part about that button lock Elementum is that it can't accidentally open if you drop it. That's true. Not many button locks can say that. Most open a little too easy. That's true. Now, and also, like if you're jumping out of the back of a truck or out of a tree or something, right? It's not going to open up in your pocket either because it locks closed. Another thing that we don't really talk about. So regular button locks are on a little spring, right? The button lock Elementum is on a liner. It's a liner. It's not a spring. So it's much more durable and long lasting than the spring. Now, granted, a spring can last a long time, but you're going to have to take it out and stretch it every now and then because it'll compress, right? Every spring that gets compressed over time is going to eventually get weaker and weaker and weaker, right? So you might have to replace it or you might have to stretch it, something like that. But with that, it's on a liner. So if that did start getting weak, you could easily tune it. I had button stick on a button lock and it was just friction against the scale. There's a lot of different ways to get stick and there's a lot of different ways to get it out. Jared, I'll take that bet. I bet you would. I bet you would. So what's the over and under on the Boker Mermaid being knife of the year 2023? Is it though? Is it knife of the year? No, it's not knife of the year. Am I fucked up right now? Is it knife of the year? I hope not. That's a troll. Probably not now. No, probably is knife of the year. Animals that go wild are dangerous 2 and 4 leg. Absolutely. And see, my brain thinks about some of the dogs that I've known in my past because remember, I grew up in a bad neighborhood. So there was a lot of people fighting dogs. Like I couldn't tell you how many literal fighting dogs I've known growing up. I've seen a lot of dog attacks. I've seen some shit when it comes to dogs. So because that stuff always rolls in my mind, I think about those types of situations happening. And what would you do in that situation, right? So that's where my brain's going. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of situations where like I could just look at the dog and know right away I could control it without even touching it, right? Or I could control it by touching it, but it's going to be fine. Like, so I don't want to make it seem like I personally or anybody else should take a dramatic step they don't need to. I'm saying under certain circumstances that I've seen in the past with some very fucking dangerous dogs, like some real killers, that the best way to do it, the best way to handle it is to put it down right now as fast as possible. And I hate to say that because, I know it's not the dog's fault. And I hate that. I hate that for that dog. I really, truly have compassion for the dog. But that doesn't stop it from still being a killer, right? You can have all the compassion you want. That doesn't stop what's about to happen if you don't do something dramatic. You want to hear something funny? Benchmade. I thought it was 522. That was 522, Rich. I think 522 is insane. So I obviously think 580 is insane. Now, some people would argue their arguments, like Benchmade pays a lot of money to their workers, good insurances, lifetime warranties, lifetime sharpening, all these details. And I get it. All that stuff costs money. I just don't see how their knife can cost as much as a Sabenza or as much as like some small companies like TRM's knives. Like, think about that. Like small companies' knives, they're charging, like they're a big company. So they buy big production. So maybe you could argue, well, their overhead's more, right? But they also sell a lot more. So there's a lot of factors to put into play. And we all know, and this is the thing, like if if their prices were always reasonable and then this kind of happened, you'd kind of understand. You'd be like, okay, well, there's probably a reason, right? But considering we've seen that they've taken knives in FRN, right, and S30V and charged, ridiculous amounts for it. So you already know there's a butterfly tax. Dustin Witt says, hey, Neeves, hope you're doing well, bro. Just put a mirror edge on my Jack Wolf Gunslinger. Nice. It's my first Jack Wolf. I am so happy with it. Do you think you can make an educated guess on the OEM? To be honest, man, for one, I do want to congratulate you on your Jack Wolf, because the Jack Wolf is absolutely a winner, and I'm glad you're happy with it, but I knew you'd be happy with it. Anybody who gets one's going to be happy with this. Let's be clear. I don't think it's possible for you to get one and not be fucking happy with this thing. Even if you're not a clip point fan, because this thing is so thin, it works great for everything you're going to use it for. Everything, even the things that like you wouldn't think it would, because it has this much belly right there. Anyways, if I was going to have to take a guess, man, see, everything that I guess, I feel like I'm going to be wrong. But like what I tried doing is looking at hardware. But the thing is, though, is that it's supposed to be made in China, and the hardware is telling me Taiwan. So I already know I'm wrong. So the fact that I'm already wrong, it makes it difficult to even, speculate. But I don't know, man. Maybe Best Tech, but I heard that wasn't it. Then I start thinking, well, maybe QSP, but maybe, I don't know, man. Because the thing is the hardware. This hardware, the only type of times I've seen this hardware is either from like React or like Quiet Carry. So, and it's neither one of them. So it's tough, man. I don't know. They're keeping it close to the chest, I'll tell you that. Jim says, never had a crossbar / ball bearing lock. I think I asked this before. Do you need both hands to actuate? One reason I love the Shark lock is it's one finger. So technically, no. So with a crossbar lock, you technically can do it one-handed. So, or one finger, I should say, because it'll pull down. It's a bar. But they say on Benchmade you're supposed to use both. But there are some that are designed to have the type of bar that it doesn't matter. You can use just one finger. So with a ball lock, you do want to use two just because the spring is stronger. But once you break the spring in, yes, you could totally do it one finger. One finger, no problem. Very easily. But the spring has to break in, which takes a little bit of time. So use two fingers until then, or until your finger gets the strength for it. Because Manixes, when you first get them, they're not like crazy strong, but they have a good amount of spring touch. Remember, that spring's supposed to last forever. So, but you can do it one-handed, or one-fingered, I should say. Don't forget to talk about horrible bosses during story time, Jared. Horrible bosses. Okay, maybe we'll talk about some horrible bosses. I didn't have anything from horrible bosses, but I've had some horrible bosses. Connie Corsos are no joke. I love Connie Corsos. My favorite breeds are Mastiff breeds. Connie Corsos, Bull Mastiffs, regular Mastiffs, all Mastiffs, really. There's a lot of different Mastiffs. But yeah, they are beasts, and they are badass. They are 100% guard dogs. They are tough-ass guard dogs. Had 2 fighting dogs try to kill me. 45 took care of it. Sometimes you got to do it. Do 2 sons make good kitchen knives? I have one. Yeah, I have one in 14C that's phenomenal. Yeah, they do. They make really good kitchen knives. Really, really good. If you ever polish the plunge and groove on the blade where the plunge sits and lose too much detent, is there a way to get the detent back? If you ever polish, you're talking about the plunge for the detent for a button lock? Plunge sits and lose too much detent. Is there a way to get the detent back? If we're talking about a button lock, that's what I'm thinking you're talking about. If you're talking about a button lock, then yeah, stretch the spring, put a little bit more tension behind it, because if it's slick and it's weak, it's getting soft because it's both things, right? It's not just slick, it's also weak. So try strengthening it a little bit. And then also if you think the polish is affecting it a lot, take just like a like 300 grit sandpaper and just scuff it. Don't remove metal. You're not trying to, you're just trying to go just that. Just like literally put some texture on it. And that can help a lot. Like I've literally stopped lock failure just by doing that. Like where I would take a lock and I would bet and try like that and it would just slip. But then I took a little piece of sandpaper and I would just scuff up the face of the lock face, and you can do the same thing. It doesn't button locks, anything like that. They have a lock face, right? And it completely stopped it. I've done that a bunch of times. We had a badass dog that wouldn't cross water. If you swam to the other shore, you were good. My dog one time, one of my dogs, I had a bull mastiff, and we were fishing, and she was on the other side of the pond, not paying attention to like where I was. This is when she was younger, but then she looked across the pond and seen that I was on the other side. Well, she was young, so instead of running around, she jumped into the pond and started swimming over. She had never swam in her life yet. This is when she was younger. And I'm thinking this fucking dog just killed herself because it's a big pond. And I'm like, she'll never make it. There's no way she's going to make it. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to have to swim out there, right? And she came trucking, and you can hear her like breathing, bouncing up and down. Because, dogs, when they first start swimming, they don't swim like this. They swim like this. So she's, swimming like this, trying to get over. She got all the way across, and I congratulated the hell out of her because she gave it everything. When she got out, you could hear her wheezing, and she just basically collapsed when she got out of the water. But I had to give it to her. She was, she's seen daddy across the pond and, maybe thought something was wrong. I think I yelled for her. So like there was a reason why she just jumped right in, but I thought she was going to run around. I didn't think she would, just jump right in. The Gunslinger looks like the Boker plus Urban Barlow by React. Yeah, it definitely has some similarities, and that's a great knife too. Mine was trained but young in the process. Thank you for explaining the functionality of crossbars. Absolutely, anytime. Custom EDC Knives is in the house. I see he's in here. I actually have the Warn Tack right here. So if you guys are ever wanting to get a Warn Tack, go on to Custom EDC Knives' site and you can get one. This is one of the better knives of the year. This, especially for the price when he does a discount. I know he doesn't always have the discount on them, but it's one, you can use it both hands, right? And it also has a reversible clip. But the titanium has the micro milling. I don't know if it'll come. Yeah, there you go. It's got the micro milling. And then this blade has a nice thin hollow grind, good geometry. He does offer full hollow regrinds where it goes all the way up to the top. But the regular one, this is good enough, just like this. I think it's fine. But so it cuts really good. And the handle, if you look at the handle, it's literally the shape of your hand. And you can turn it around and cut it backwards. The pinch grip, because this thing bows down, the pinch grip is really good. This is such a good, useful knife. And then you have that action. That action is really, really good. So yeah, this is definitely one that I am super duper impressed with. The longer I have it, the more like I don't really have any real negatives. Like it's one that is just knocked out of the park. They did a really good job on it. Has anyone ever contacted Tucson's customer service? I have one that the frame lock does not create a solid lockup on the blade, and it's driving me crazy. So Dan, I have spoken with them. They're very difficult, very, very difficult. So you have a couple problems. One, you have translation issues. Number two, you have issues because they're overseas and they don't have any OEMs. They don't have anything over here. So like when we're talking about Kizer, Civivi, Artisan, they all have places here to do warranty work and shit like that. Tucson does not. They do not. That's the one problem with dealing with them. And that's one thing that I've kind of gotten upset about them about. And I'm not saying you can't get a knife replaced, because you can. They will replace knives in some cases, but it's just difficult to contact them, difficult to deal with them. And that's one thing that I've kind of gotten upset about, because I understood in the past, right? In the past, when knife companies are just starting out, like, you're like, give them some time, right? But I expect a company to constantly improve, right? And it seemed like they were. It seemed like they were in the beginning. Then all of a sudden, it just seemed like they just they just dropped, and like they just like stopped caring about doing anything new as far as improving, as far as getting into other companies, as far, just like everything period that you see a company grow from, you just kind of see them stop. But no shade at them or anything. It's just, you got to know when you go into buying a Tucson that they are cheap. The money is, they are worth the money, but there's things that come with having a price like that. Like, kind of like Benchmade, right? There's things that come with paying a price like that. You pay that Benchmade price, but you have a lifetime warranty, lifetime free sharpening, and they basically don't ask any questions with the warranty. They'll basically fix whatever. The steel ball in the dodo takes some technique to actuate. I need to brace the bottom against the hand. Some of them are like that. Some of them you just need to, I think a lot of them are like that. Even the Mannix, like I let it go at the bottom of my hand when I do it. But yeah, you gotta get used to it. Sometimes you just need to break them in. Fire protection dogs, they will give their very life, fam. That's a lot of dogs. And that is one thing I learned training dogs, the real meaning of man's best friend, because a lot of people, like, they hear that and they know it, but you don't realize how true that is from a dog's perspective. A dog is truly man's best friend. A dog will literally, you could be mad at your dog, right? Like, let's say something happens, right? Your dog does something, you punish your dog, right? Well, then somebody comes through the door. Your dog's going to forget about everything that just happened, and he's like, let's get to work right now, right? Like, he's going to defend you till he dies, like, even though this thing just happened. Like, there's no, because they don't understand, first of all, the reason why is because they don't understand resentment. They don't understand vengeance, things like that. They don't have that. That's human behaviors, not that dog. But the point is, though, is that a dog that's trained well will go the limits of which you can't even comprehend in order to make you happy. The things that they will do, the pain they will put themselves through, the energy they will, I mean, it's incredible what some dogs will do in order to make you happy. And that's why, a lot of the fighting dogs, why pit bulls were so good. They just wanted to make their owners happy. So they would go in there and give their life in the ring, to fight another dog, just because they thought that that's what they were supposed to do. Jared, did you see the viral video today of Ukraine captured Russians who had a dagger fixed blade? No, I did not. I did not see that. That's funny, though. You're talking about from the Dagger Knife Company in Russia. If you're using an oil on your knife pivot and want to change the oil you're using, how do you do that? You just take the knife apart. There's lots of videos. If you watch Nick Shabazz's channel, Nick Shabazz has a ton of takedown videos and he probably even has the knife that you're talking about on his channel where he takes it apart. Maybe not, I don't know, but you just take the knife apart and you clean it out. Now, if you don't want to take the knife apart, what I would do is just pour oil. Not oil. Take that back. Don't take the knife apart and use alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and pour rubbing alcohol down inside the pivot, right? Blow it out really good. Make sure it's nice and dry, and then re-oil it. But the way you should technically do it, if you want to do it the professional way, is take the knife all the way apart, clean everything with rubbing alcohol, rub everything down with rubbing alcohol, then oil the detent ball and the bearing or washers, whichever one you have, on both sides, and then put it all back together. Make sure you thread lock your hardware. And also, after thread locking your hardware, let it sit for like a day or two. Custom EDC Knives. Hey, thank you for the 5 bones. I will have a batch of blacked out worn tacks available on my website 4th of July. If anyone's interested. Awesome. Hell yeah. That's very cool. Yeah, I could see this being a badass all blacked out. You can imagine it. Does it still have the micro milling? That'd be dope. That micro milling is the shit. Because this is a micro milling you can actually feel, like it's not so knocked down that you can't feel it. And that's what I love. I love when I can feel the micro milling. Dogs are all you need. Best partner and no drama. If you have needs, hire a pro. Bang. Bang. Asher, you can flush it with pressure, but take it apart would be best. Right. Yeah, you can flush it. You can flush it. You can air blow it. You know, if you have a air compressor, you can pour rubbing alcohol on it or down it, then use air, or, you know, but taking it apart is always going to be the best way. Asher Slasher says, is it possible to get a Kershaw leak that was de-assisted to drop shut? No. So it's not about the drop shut. You're not going to have a detent. That's the problem. So I have one that's de-assisted and it doesn't drop shut. Yes, it's very smooth on the drop. Like I can easily, like, you know, go like that or go like that very, very easily. So I can drop shut it like that, if that's what you mean. It's not drop shutty, but you can easily swing it shut for sure. But the problem, this is the problem. The problem is there's zero detent. So when you go to open it, like it's just, there's no resistance right there. You're not breaking a detent. So you kind of have to slow roll it or flick it hard to get it to open. The flipper tab won't work anymore. So if you don't care about the flipper tab, then it's fine because you can snap it open with the thumb studs. That's what I use mine. That's how I use mine. Do you call rain wet air? Huh. Wet air? I had a Basenji that would hold a grudge for weeks. I bet you thought that it held a grudge. I bet you it was something else. Every time I've heard that, I've trained, I couldn't tell you how many dogs. Like I've had so many people tell me things. Like I've had somebody tell me, and a lot of people say this too. So it wasn't just this person. They would tell me like, oh, when they would do something to their dog or, you know, or not do something, then the dog would chew their shoes up the next day, right? And that they were doing it from revenge, right? To have revenge. And it had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with revenge. It had everything to do with the dog thinking it was allowed to chew the shoes, thinking it was not only allowed to, but in order to do it, it just had to not get caught. That's what it thought. So it thought, I'm supposed to get these shoes when the person's not here. So when the person goes to sleep, walks away, or something like that, I'm supposed to get these things. This is my toy, but only if I don't get caught. So that's what the dog learned over patterns. But once the dog learned, no, you're not allowed to touch these shoes, dog never touches shoes again. But those little tiny details are what people don't understand with dogs. And they put human features or behaviors onto dogs that don't exist in dog world. Now, I'm not saying there's not things that seem that way, because of course there is. Of course, I can think of a million things that happened to me with dogs where it seemed like a very human behavior for the dog to do that. But in most cases, it's another thing. It's something else. It's just a certain behavior that dogs have that just winds up falling in line with what you think this is. Want a big folder around 50 or less, looking at Ganzo, G720 and Gerber Gator. Any other ideas? Cold Steel. Cold Steel for big folders. If you want something big and badass, I would say Cold Steel. That'd probably be the way I'd go for $50 or less. That you can get, like, was it the SR1 or whatever? Do I have one right here? Yeah, something like this. Bang. There you go. This thing's a beast. Strongest lock in the world. Triad lock. Custom EDC Knives with another donation. Thank you, man. With the 10 bones. Jared, yes, they do have the micro milling. I collaborated with Knife Modders on this one. Oh, no shit. They did a matte black ceramic coating on the blade, scales, hardware, and clip. That is dope. Hell yeah. good for them, man. They're coming up, man. I always wish them the best. Shout out to Knife Modders. I really hope all is well with them. I haven't talked to them in a while. I know we missed them at Blade Show. So hopefully we'll see them next year. But I always wish the best for them, and I'm glad to see you doing business with them. People always prescribe human emotions and thoughts to animals, but it's hardly ever the case. That's true. That is very true. And that's constant. And that's why I understand it, but I have an issue with it. That like those videos online where the dog's doing something and there's a human talking, explaining the emotions, and it's all human emotions they're saying. Like a bunch of like bullshit. None of it's real. And they're just talking human behavior, saying that this is what the dog's doing, and it drives me absolutely nuts. Because as a dog trainer, I can see through it all. Like I can see exactly why the dog's doing that, or what the dog's doing, or what's the reality of the situation. But like you said, humans are just we're gonna throw that onto animals, which is almost never the case. Maybe under some small times there might be something there, but usually not. I was wondering what your favorite knife is around $200. I know it's hard to just decide, but if you have something in mind, I would love to hear about it. I would say probably the Mannix for right around $200. I'd say the Mannix 2 XL. If you don't like XL knives, then the Mannix 2 regular size. That's probably where I would go. The PM2 in crew wear. That's a really good one, right around the $200 mark. But yeah, that's probably what I would go with. Yeah. You can go with the Spyderco Yojimbo too. That's another good one. Spyderco Yojimbo's the shit. What's the difference between a triad and a shark lock? So a triad lock has, 4 points of contact? 3 points of contact. 3 points of contact. So you have this back spring that drops in between the stop pin and the tang of the blade. So as you apply pressure on the spine, the lock only gets stronger, because as you're applying pressure here, it's wedging against, pushing pressure against the stop pin that's putting pressure against this bar, which is pushing pressure down. So the more you push this way, the more that lock bar just kind of pushes down. So that's why it's so damn strong. A shark lock is kind of, the shark lock is kind of similar, but it has a groove. It has a groove right here that this falls down into, or like snaps over and like holds, and then the blade hits the stop pin. So it's not wedged. It's not using the stop pin for the lock. It's using there's 2 bars right here. You can't see them because they're under the scales, but there's 2 bars right here. And it's using the pressure on those 2 bars to drop this thing in between those bars and the lock face right there. So it's just different. They're very similar strength, and they do have some similarities to some extent, but they're also very different, Jared, what do you think of the little TRM nerd? TRM has had their knives available where'd it go? And on for a couple of weeks now, I got a Neutron and Texture Titanium. The Atom has been available as well. So I'm gonna have to check that out. I did not know they had some available, but so the nerd's very small. That's the thing. I'll grab it. Usually I probably wouldn't recommend it because it's so tiny, unless if you really like tiny knives, because looking at it on screen, it always seems bigger than it really is. This thing is super tiny. Like here, just look at my hand next to this thing, right? This thing is super tiny, right? It's barely, you can get a full grip, but it's tight. And it's the little details that are small, like even like this is tiny right here, right? So it's like the little things, this hole deployment, super close to scale. It's not the easiest to flick. It's really not easy to flick. You kind of got to break it in and get used to it. So it's in some cases it's kind of a two-hand opening knife, you know, even though you can get it one-handed. But so just put all that into consideration, right? You gotta really like a small knife to like the nerd. To me, I like it. I think it's cool. I love that it's USA made. I love that I have a titanium knife, especially with this beautiful micro milling that they put on there. But it's not very practical for me because I would always carry something that was more practical. What's up, Jared? Can't stick around. Try and be back later. Well, I thank you, Beans. Appreciate you jumping in. Stock one. Man, Midgard, I have tried and I'm still trying. I'm not holding anything against them. I think there's just, I don't know if there's lost in translation. I don't know. I seen them at Blade Show. Tried to talk to them a little bit there. Not much happened, but I've talked to them online a couple times and tried to like share the channel with them and see if they wanted to work with us. And it's like they always totally like kind of blow us off. Which doesn't make sense. You know, I just think that they've never clicked on our channel and never seen who we are. And I'm not trying to flex like, oh, who we are and stuff like that. It's just I've been trying to work with them to get their knives on the channel. And it's been it seems like we're like lost in translation or something, which happens quite often, to be honest. But hopefully one of these days, you know, we'll be able to get in contact with them and get something on the channel. Is the Bug Out the best knife in that class? You talking about from Benchmade or just period? Because I would recommend the Hogue Deca or the Bug Out every day of the week. I like the Bug Out. The Bug Out's good. The Deca's better, at least in my opinion. I do love the slimness of the blade and how lightweight it is, but the Deca with original goat scales, that's the way to go in my opinion. However, if you really like the Bug Out, and the Bug Out's dope, but it is overpriced. So just know that. And I personally would want to get new scales for it, but that's me. That might not be you. I'm sure they do, Paracord, and I'd love to try it. I'd love to try it. But like I said, it's difficult for us to get in contact. I could always buy it, you know. But you know, I have to be careful with that, you know, because you gotta understand our channel. If you guys only knew how much we spend on the channel a month, like it's absurd. Like it's fucking absurd. Like, you know, people can't even fathom how much we spend on the channel a month. So we have to pinch pennies and we have to decide where we want the money to go versus where, you know, we shouldn't put it and things like that. And a Midgard Messer, yes, I'd love to have it in the collection. Yes, I'd love to rave about it. But, you know, it'd be better if the company will work with us, you know, that way we don't have to spend the funds on it. If we have to, then we have to. But then in that case, I'd like to know that I can have an affiliate. But you know, and it's just all things with running a business on YouTube, you know, and having a YouTube channel. I don't ever let that fog up my opinion on the knife ever. Ever, ever, ever. And I make sure I say it to every single company. Every single company already knows it. Like we make sure like that it's said, you know, that we are going to be 100% honest. We've even had companies try to pay us for bullshit. We've always refused. Always. We even had one recently willing to pay us just you know, not to say anything good or bad, but just if we did videos only on their knives, you know, and then they'd pay us per view and stuff. And we said no. And it's like that seems like legit, right? It seems like it'd be just a good thing. Like, so what? I'm gonna do videos on their knives anyways, right? I'm gonna do a video, and that's the thing. That's where it makes it tough. It's like I'm already gonna do the video on it. Why wouldn't I want to make a few extra bucks? But then it's like, well, but then I'll be incentivized to do videos on their shit, right? So you know, so there's always a conflict of interest, and I always stay away from those conflict of interests. Granted, I want to make as much money as possible. Always, I always want to make money. So I'm never denying that I'm not trying to make money every which way I can, but as honest as possible, as honest and without as many strings attached as possible. How long does a bright colored custom anodization last on titanium scale before it appears dull? So if it's polished, that'll last the longest. So as long as before it was anodized, it was a mirror polished finish. Those last actually a good long time. They're actually pretty resistant to a lot of things. Where it wears really fast is when there was no finishing. So it's all about the prep work. The more prep work that goes into the knife before it's ever anodized, the better it'll last. The least amount of effort, like if I just took this knife right now and anodized it, it's not going to last very long. It's going to wear off really quick because it's like there's like a crystallization that happens on the surface of the titanium. And when it's polished, which this is almost semi-polished, but I'm talking about mirror polish is what you want, then it'll last. So it just depends. It depends on the finish. You know, if it's a blasted finish, not as long as a polished finish. I've watched some videos with them and they do act kind of odd with people touching their knives, like they handed it to them and then took it right back. Yeah, I don't know, man. I did a video on a blade show with their knives and we said who we were and they seemed like they knew, like they remembered, but they could have been faking it, right? That happens a lot. So I'm not trying to pressure them. I'm not trying to put them on the spot. I'm not trying to make them feel a certain way or anything like that. But in many cases, you know, going to Blade Show allows you to talk to them, right? Allows you to get in front of them and say, hey, I'm the guy who's been messaging you on Instagram. You know, we'd love to do business with you. So I just kind of said that, you know, like nonchalantly, like, hey, we were messaging you on Instagram. You know, if you guys ever want to work with us, get in contact with us, right? But I think the problem is they've never actually clicked the link we've sent them. I truly believe that. I truly believe that they never even clicked the link. And so they don't know that like we're a large channel or anything. They probably, because you got to think there's a lot of people at Blade Show, and I am not knocking everybody with small channels. I once had a small channel. I had a smaller channel a lot longer than I've had a big channel. Let me tell you. So I get it, but there's a lot of people at Blade Show that do have smaller channels. So when they see them and they're talking to them, they, you know, they're not going to obviously put, and this is just me being honest, right? Like, and everybody knows this, you know, it doesn't matter if I say it or not, everybody knows it. They're obviously going to give more attention to somebody with a larger channel than with a smaller channel, just because it'll be better business for them, right? Just common sense. But when they totally just like ignore and avoid and like it feels like they don't have any clue, then most likely it's because they haven't looked and just don't know, which is fine, you know. Jared is honest and I'm in that biz that looks for dishonest. I appreciate that, dog. I appreciate that. Yeah, I try to be, or not even try. I am like I am so upfront about everything. Like I've tried to not bullshit about any piece of anything I do. Like and I've made it like very apparent that I have no problem showing my analytics or anything. You know, if anybody wants to contact me, you know, like I wouldn't do it live like this, but you know, like I'm not one to hide anything I do or how I make money on YouTube or anything. So Florida man claims he was only drinking at stoplights, not while driving. Smart man. Smart man. That's actually funny. Only at stop signs. I swear I never was drinking while driving. And I'm definitely not drunk in between stoplights. That would just be absurd. As long as I've watched Jared's been upfront about everything, even when not asked. Thank you, Fiend. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ben's been around for a long time. Which companies? I don't know which one we're talking about with that. Why do I like my Griptilian with the Spidey hole so much? That's my favorite version. So that's probably it's tough. It's one of my favorite Benchmades is the Benchmade Griptilian sheep's foot with the hole. And as far as that series goes, even more than the RSK MK1, because of the blade shape and that hole, I like it more. I love it. I love the Benchmade with the whole sheep's foot. I love the blade shape. It's one of my favorite blade shapes. I love that it has a whole deployment. I love that it's fidgety. I love that it has a super strong lock. The ergonomics are off the charts. Like that's why it's called the Griptilian, right? So I'll go with cold steel. Then yeah, you can go with the 8010. The 8. Well, that's not going to be for $50. If you still want it for $50, but cold steel has a lot of knives, And if you're worried about doing it one-handed, you can absolutely use them one-handed. You just got to put your finger all the way up right here and drop it down, and you're safe. So you can easily open and close them, almost every single one-handed. There were a few times I asked Jared some really tough or personal questions, and yes, he has always been honest. His integrity is big reason why I respect him so much. Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Ryan. Another person that's been around for a very long time. Just got the Bags Astio, Benchmade Astio. I've never had a knife. This knife. So I think most of the bags right now. Oh, I have one right here actually. And yeah, man, they did a really good job. I'll tell you what, this bodega is. I know, like, to say D2 for $120. I know people are like, ooh, I get that, but man, this thing is so good. I think it's well worth the $120 because it has everything else going for it, right? And D2 is not a bad steel. It's not a bad steel. It's just, we don't want to see it on everything. But in this case, obviously, I'd love to see it in 14C, but just the way it is, this thing is a badass. It's a hell of a knife, very ergonomic, nice hollow grind, phenomenal action. This thing kicks like a horse. Like, anybody, you could hand this to grandma and she would snap that thing open with authority because it's almost like it's assisted. It's got incredible detent with incredible action. Like, it's such a good knife. Cold Steel Formex Scout goes on sale for 50 bones sometimes on Amazon. There you go. Thanks, Todd. Yeah, that's a beast, though. If he's wanting that hard use of a knife, go for it, man. That's awesome. I would say if you could jump up to the $70-$80 range, you could probably get one of their better knives because they do deals, like he said, on Amazon all the time. The Bug Out isn't overpriced like the Narrows. Well, it kind of is, because look at what you're getting. Let me just make sure. Grab the right one. I'm gonna go to Straight Blade HQ. For a regular FRN one, $171. I see 162 is the cheapest. That's the minis. Okay, so $162 is the cheapest I'm seeing. Otherwise, 171, 180. So for the aluminum one, it's 270. 297 for the carbon fiber one, which is that's insane to me. But this is where I'm talking about. I'll grab the cheapest one, which this to me, don't get me wrong, I love the Bug Out. I have the Bug Out. So I have the Bug Out. Just remember that. $162, which the other one was 172 for a different color. This is FRN. FRN and S30V. FRN and S30V, not G10, right? And there's barely any liners in here. These liners are very small. So there's hardly nothing there. That's my point, right? With the Narrows, it has materials that's been machined. This is FRN. FRN is a machine. I think it's like molded, I believe. I'm not an FRN expert, so don't quote me. But the most expensive part is the S30V blade. And guess what they sell them for? Like between 20 and 40 bucks. Because you can literally buy a new blade for like 20 or 40 bucks from Benchmade. So, do you see let's say $120 in the handle? I don't. That's all I'm saying. Is it like so ridiculous you shouldn't get it? I'm not saying that. I just think compared to a lot of things, it's a little bit overpriced. I just think, the materials, because you could turn around and get, like a PM2 or a Yojimbo or a Manix or something. You can get a Manix in FRN. Let's check out the Manix, which has a superior heat treat. Let's check out the FRN Manix. So the FRN Manix, oh wow, they raised the price on those too. $127 for the CTS BD1N. As far as for a super steel, you can get one with a super steel for 169 or even a little bit higher in some cases. But you can get the BD1N for 127, and they got really good heat treats. The lock is really strong. I would say that this is an even better lock. I would say it's even better FRN. This FRN doesn't flex. So, well, I'm not even showing you guys. This FRN to me is the best FRN that comes on any knife. And I don't even like FRN. But the FRN from Spyderco is the best. The best. It doesn't flex. It's very durable. It feels very hardy. So, you know, I when I look at this and then I look at that, it's like, you know, I can actually see a little bit more into the handle of this too. Don't get me wrong, I'd recommend the G10 one and just spend a little bit more money, because you could just go with you can go with the XL or the regular one. The XL is $191, so under $200 for the XL. $151 for Black G10 and S30V. So even less money for this than the bug out. And the bug out has FRN, not G10. This has full stainless steel liners, so not little partial bitch ass ones, big liners. It's got the ball lock, which is, you know, I personally like it better than the crossbar lock. I think the crossbar lock is slightly stronger, maybe, but still, they're both very, very, very strong locks. This one's more reliable, I think, though. Where meaning like over time, because the springs, Omega springs, break way faster than these springs. These springs don't usually break. So there's just so many factors that, in my opinion, make it better. You guys hear about the Civivi coming out with the FRN integral backspacer. I seen the knife that they have coming soon with the integral backspacer on an aluminum handle. I thought it was G10 though. I didn't know it was FRN. Maybe it is. I don't know. The native lightweight has no liners and zero flex. That's what I mean. Their FRN, no flex. That's what I'm saying. Like, their FRN is way different than like Benchmade's. You can just squeeze it and clap them together. Like, you can't do that with the Spydercos. And the reason why that's a problem, this is why it's a problem to me. Just like with the Hogue Deca. When I started testing the Hogue Deca with the FRN scales, when I squeezed it like this, trying to push it through something, so like when you're actually pushing through dense stuff, as you're squeezing, you get pinched in here. It literally closes onto your skin and pinches the shit out of you. So it's like, I don't want that. All right, so we are to the time of the day I promised I'd do story time and scent of the day. So let's talk about a couple men's fragrances really quick. I'm gonna talk about two. We'll get through them really quickly. I did not link them. Let me see if I can just grab a link for one of them, for the better one really quick, because I got two. One's better, so okay, I do got it. Yes, it is. Right one, right? Yep. Bam. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. This stuff's fire, guys. It's fire. So this is the one I'm wearing right now, and I'm gonna just drop it in. I'll just drop it in the chat. So it's Mercedes Move. So I have another one here we're going to talk about briefly that I'm almost out of because I've used so much. And you can see how much I've used of this one. This is a beast mode fragrance that lasts for a very, very long time. Let me drop this in here too. All right, guys, here, let's So it lasts for a super long time. Now the scent is actually it has a semi sweetness to it, actually quite a bit of sweetness. Real man, it's so good. This is one, man. I cannot hype up enough. I don't think any man, any woman will smell this and not absolutely love it. Like, women, I know love it. So pull this up really quick. So I'm going to give you guys the note breakdown. Now, with note breakdowns, you want to pay attention to them, but this is the note breakdown. So you see it's aromatic, marine, salty. Marine is like watery. Salty, fresh spice, floral, citrus, warm, spicy, vanilla, fresh, sweet. So there's no warm, spicy in this. You are going to get the sweet, the fresh, a little bit of vanilla. You definitely smell the vanilla in there. The citrus, the floral, and the marine. Like, it's a very summer fragrance. It's definitely for hot weather. You like I said, it's fresh out of the shower. You know, like how like shower gel or like men's deodorant kind of smells. It has a little bit of a similarity to that, but sweeter and more obviously perfumey, but an absolute beast of a fragrance. So the scent is just a monster. It just smells so good, and people can smell you in the room, but it's not a scent where people are going to go, he's wearing cologne. It's not that type of scent. It's a scent to where you just smell it and you're looking for it because it smells good. It's attractive. Kind of like I said, like a fresh out of the shower smell to some extent with some sweetness added. So it's very affordable, super affordable. It's $55. $55 for this bottle. That's a lot of juice for $55. The sprayer, look at that. That fucker sprays. And now this whole bitch smells great. So that's definitely one I highly recommend. I actually wore this at Blade Show when I did the live with Seth for We Knife Co. They somebody in the chat asked, what fragrance are you wearing? I said Mercedes Move. This was the one I was wearing because I knew it was a perfect Blade Show fragrance. It's delightful. Nobody's gonna not like it. If I'm trapped in an elevator with somebody, nobody's gonna think anything bad. Everybody's gonna be pleased with it, and that's how it is. And every time I put this on, Kara always says something. She doesn't even know which one she says anything to. She has no idea, but I know. Because when I put it on, I just wait for it. And all of a sudden I'll hear her start sniffing and she's like, ooh, that smells good. She doesn't even know which one, and I just put check marks next to them. Now the next one, really quick. This one's the similar type of fragrance, meaning you'll wear it in the same times, more warmer weather. You can wear this one year round, but it's the most in the warm weather, but you can wear it year round. But Aqua Kenzo, you can see I'm almost done with this bottle. Come on. Aqua Kenzo, the one with the blue. You can go look it up if you want to. It's got this wonky bottle. The only problem with this one is it does not last very long, but this one has a I want to say minty, but it's not like minty. So it's very fresh, very watery, very blue. It's a blue fresh fragrance. But then it has like a hint of green, like leafiness, and then like maybe like a hint of mint, but like such a tiny amount that like you're not picking it up as mint. And then powdery, like a powderiness, and with powderiness, sometimes it can come off lipsticky, right? So I hate lipstick fragrances, but lipstick fragrances are actually pretty popular on men's fragrances. I don't know why. I fucking hate them. But this has a tiny hint of lipstick. But when it's mixed well, lipstick is actually really good. The problem with fragrance guys and people like that into fragrances is that something that smells good, if it's mixed well, eventually becomes something they're attracted to over time, kind of like an acquired taste. And that's what happens with the lipstick fragrances. But this one's not like a lipstick fragrance. You'd never think that. It has like it mixed really well. But I can't recommend enough. This is one that I am so addicted to. You can see it's almost empty. Like I can't stop spraying it. Like every time, like the first time I sprayed it, I was like, oh, that's pretty good. And then something just kept telling me, smell that again. And I can't stop. Like there's something about it that keeps me grabbing it. Problem is it doesn't last very long. So that's kind of the downside. Granted, it's very affordable and cheap, so you can spray it like 15 times and it doesn't matter, and which is what I do, and then it lasts a little bit longer. So, don't get me wrong, it'll last, a decent amount of time, but this one's a beast mode. This one will last 10 hours, 12 hours, maybe even longer. Anyways, that sounds like something out of a bad gun movie. Okay. All right, so let's get into let me read your comments and then we'll get to story time. I'm not well. I had too much to drink, but not enough to buy lipstick scent. See, I knew when I say that, you guys are gonna take it the wrong way because there are lipstick fragrances. I'm saying that this is not a lipstick fragrance. I said it has that note in it, and that note is usually I can't even think about it now. It's an actual note that's in a lot of fragrances. I can't even think of the name of it right. Iris. It's iris. So it's iris and it has a powderiness to it. So, but when it's mixed well, iris is in most fragrances. So it's just how much is in it or how little is in it. But when it's mixed well, it's actually super popular in men's fragrances. This is a fragrance that doesn't smell like it's not something you'll smell and be like, oh, that's a strong cologne. It's not like that. This is a summer fragrance. This is one you can wear anywhere. You can wear it out. You can wear it, like I said, if you get trapped in an elevator, kind of like I was saying with this one, nobody's ever going to be upset at it. It's a good quality scent that's it has a little bit of green to it too, which I think because it has the blue, like the fresh shower jelly smell with the green, it's super attractive. It just makes you constantly want to keep smelling it. They say Kenzo Aqua is similar to Paco Rabanne's 1 Million Lucky. So I do not agree with that. It is absolutely 1,000,000% different. I have both of them. No comparison. Zero. I heard that too, Derek. I heard that too. And when I heard that, I had to go and spray them both. They are absolutely 100% opposites. I don't know where that came from and why. Maybe there's a different Kenzo, but I heard the exact same thing, Derek, and I don't see it. Because this is a blue fragrance and 1 Million Lucky is a gourmand fragrance. It's a super sweet fragrance, like a sugary fragrance. Question: Suncut Serene or CGRB Pyrite or Echo? My heart wants to say the Serene. However, if I was going to go between the CGRBs, I'd pick the Echo. I'd pick the Echo. So it'd be the Echo between the Serene. As far as the Echo versus Serene, if you like whole deployments, go with the Echo. If you like the thumb studs, go with the thumb studs from the Serene. But I think the button lock's going to be more consistent on the Serene over time. In the heat treat, probably in the geometry. So if you put all those things into factor, right, the geometry is better on the Serene. It's very thin geometry, really nice. Super solid aluminum scales. The Echo is steel if you get that version. So it depends on which version you get, but I'd go with the Serene. But man, I love the Echo. The Echo's dope. Like it's really, really dope. Like it's very tough to even pick which one because both of them are so good. I stole your pick. Stab that like button, betas. All right, so I said I was going to talk a story. Somebody was asking me about talk about bad bosses earlier. Bad bosses. So I'll speak a little bit on that. Maybe I'll get to the story I was going to tell. I was going to tell a school fight story. Anyway, so a bad boss, man. I actually, before I quit construction, and I've told this story before. So I didn't want to go back to construction because I did construction my entire life. And I always knew that I was going to die on the job site. Like my dad got paralyzed, my whole family does construction. And I just thought it was in my bloodline. Like I'm supposed to basically die doing construction. But then eventually I realized, and my uncles, would try to talk me out of it. Don't do this, get into something else, blah, 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 blah. And I remember my uncle would even scream, he'd be up on a gable, right? Like 30 feet up in the air, right? And I'm humping 2x4s or something. And he'd be screaming down, like 50 years, 50 fucking years, you're going to be doing this shit. You better love it, right? And he's trying to talk me out of fucking doing construction, right? And that's when I'm like 16. And I did wind up doing it forever, right? And I had already been doing it forever at that point. Anyways, so then eventually something got into me and I said, I don't want to do this no more. I don't want to break my back every day, all day for what? For nothing, right? I'm going to wind up getting paralyzed like my old man. And what? For what? Right? That's the way I looked at it. Like there's so many other things I could get into and I'm good at so many things. Why would I limit myself to the one thing just because I know it and I'm comfortable with it? But it's like you can break your back only for so long, right? And listen, man, I've done that my whole life since I could remember. I've broken my back like literally every day, just gritting, grinding, bleeding, sweating all day, every day. That's all I knew. So when I decided to get out of it, I was like, I'm not going to go back into construction. But then I was a felon. All right. So I was a felon and nobody would hire me. Nobody. I was a fresh felon too. So fresh out of jail, fresh felon, fresh everything, fresh charges, fresh all that shit. and nobody'd fuck with me. So I eventually was literally taking buses and walking miles and miles a day, going to all these different places, just begging for a job, please, please, please. And I didn't want to go back to construction. That was the thing. Like, I'm avoiding all construction. At any time I can go back to work. At any time I can go back to work and go to construction, right? And I knew that. But I also, you know, knew what type of environment and everything I was going to be in. I was trying to avoid it, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, then I wound up finding this this custom window place. And the guy was an old guy and didn't care about my record. Was pretty cool about it. That should have been a red flag. Think about it, that should have been the red flag. The fact that nobody spoke English but him, that's another red flag. So he was the only person that spoke English, and then he gave me the job, and I was making pretty decent money. You know, I was very happy with how much I was making. But then as time went on, I started just noticing things. This guy's fucking senile. And I don't mean like I'm just exaggerating, joking, saying the guy is senile. No, he was literally getting dementia. So every day it was something weird happening. Like, stuff would happen. Like, he would tell me to do something, and then like 10 minutes later, while I'm in the middle of doing it, he would come out and just freak out and go apeshit and say he never told me to do that, even though we stood there for 20 minutes having a conversation on exactly what to do. Like, shit like that. Like, and me and him almost got into a couple fist fights. Like, there was a couple times like I literally squared up with him because he was so mean and so angry. And you guys probably don't know this. Maybe you guys do, because I might have said something, but I worked in a nursing home for a couple years while doing construction, while taking care of my dad. I would fucking have 20 different jobs. But anyways, I was taking care of my dad and doing healthcare with elderly, and I had to watch the Alzheimer's patients and the dementia patients and basically keep them in a room and stuff. So I dealt with a lot of people like that. So I know like the signs and stuff. I dealt with it for a couple of years straight, right? And seen everything you could imagine in one of those places. So, and I started realizing it, like when I squared up with him the one time, and I was ready to just, and thing was I couldn't do that, because if I did that, remember, I'm a felon. Like, if I fucking square up with this guy and I hit him, I better really need to, right? It better be a situation where I really, really need to, because I'm going to jail. But then I realized that, oh, this guy's losing his mind. Like, it's clear as day now. Like, I started realizing, oh, fuck, this fucking guy's literally losing his mind. And I needed the job, so I kept going, knowing this guy's senile. Like, I realize it now. Now I'm seeing all the patterns, and I'm like, and it's standing out so like oblivious. Like, how couldn't I see this before, right? But things get worse, right? Over time, you get worse and worse. And I was literally leaving at like 4 a.m. to jump on a bus, to go to another bus, to go to, to get dropped off on the side of the road, to walk a mile to work, like in the freezing cold, snow up to your door or up to your, the hood of your car every day. So I was like going through a lot to go to this place to work. But him being senile just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And then, and he was so mean. And like, if the people there didn't speak Spanish and could speak English, none of them would have been there, because of the things he said. Like, there's no way anybody would work for somebody like that, right? Not in their right mind. Anyway, so then dangerous things start happening. And I've told this story before. He starts dropping things so we had bobcats, and machines and stuff. He would lift things up in the air, and like, you'd be looking like, what is he doing? Right. And then he just fucking dropped the shit. Like, in the one time, like, so it was like a couple days before this, we were moving some trailers, and he picked a trailer up with a bobcat or something, and just wound up like throwing the thing. And it almost hit me. And I remember thinking, like, I'm standing here. Why would he fucking throw it this way? Right. And I'm just thinking, he's fucking senile. And right then I knew, like, I need to get out of here. This guy's going to kill me. Like, I know this guy's going to kill me. Well, then like a week later, I'm standing, and he's moving a toolbox, one of those big toolboxes where you put all the tools. They're like 2 tons, like literally like 2 tons. They're so heavy. And he just has to move it across like, a shop, and like 50 feet, 60 feet, he has to move it. Doesn't have to pick it up high for no reason, just starts lifting it up in the air, like, like, I don't know, 20 feet or something. I don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Why is he lifting it up? He doesn't have to lift it up. And then something just told me, move, like just move. And I moved, and right when I moved, it landed right where I was standing. Like, and listen, if that thing would have hit me, it would have been no going to the hospital. I'd have been flat dead, 100%, no saving me, no nothing. So I knew right then, like, oh, I'm done. Like, I'm done with this. Oh, that wasn't what got me, though. What got me was right after he did it, he drove past me and he looked at me so cold. There was nothing in his eyes, nothing. He just drove past, like nothing happened, like as if he didn't almost just kill somebody. And so I knew right there, like, oh, I got to get the fuck out of here. This guy's going to kill me, not even realize it, probably bury me, right? Or, I don't know. He probably won't even acknowledge that anything happened, fucking just a work accident, right? And, like I said, I wasn't willing to die for it. And that's why I got out of it in the first place, right? There was a reason why I didn't want to do construction anymore. So I wound up having to go back to construction for a short amount of time, for I don't know, like a year and a half or something like that. I don't know. In order to just get some money together until I could get, kind of on my feet again and find a different job. And, I wound up getting a different job with the distillery and everything. I actually had already had that job, and I went back and forth. But yeah, it was absolutely crazy. Sounds like those guys don't know how to do proper rigging. I don't know what you mean. Like this, when you're on the job, there's just, you do things, you pick things up, you set it down. Like, hey, have anything to do with that. It just, the guy who's going senile and had no reasons on doing certain things and would do them out of nowhere. And then just, don't censor. It's very DC demon rat, very beta, very commie. I might have to shank you as a populist. All right, Elias. I guess we both agree on that. Boss, yep, gravity still 32, right? Oh man, but man, that guy, like when you're looking at somebody like that, you feel you feel a certain way because you're elder, right? And that's how I feel. Like I've always shown respect to my elders, always. So but there's still a limit though, right? There's a limit of respect, right? You're going to respect me. Like I'm going to respect you because you're my elder, but you're also going to respect me, right? So, and he didn't have that. Like it was almost like that thing was shut off in his brain. And also I wound up learning a lot about him during the time. Like he has like a couple $1 million business, but has nobody in his life. Like he pushed away everybody in his life to where he had nobody, no kids, no nothing. So to me, I'm thinking like, what's he gonna do with his business? Like they're gonna wind up auctioning off all his shit because nobody likes him enough because he's such a mean motherfucker that there was. I guarantee, like if he died, like nobody would show up to his funeral. Like that's, and it's sad. It's really sad when you really think about it. Like I'm not trying to make fun of him for this. Like it's sad, but he supposedly had bought a wife from overseas and was obviously just paying her just to be a wife or whatever. So she's probably not showing up. I guarantee she hates him. I guarantee it. He was very unlikable. But then when you get to senile part, and he's losing his mind, it gets 10 times worse. Didn't know your hair was curly. Yeah, my hair is really curly. Which you guys normally see it with it combed forward with hair products, and this is with no products. No products, just curly. My hair is very curly. My whole life. My hair used to be a lot thicker. It used to be impossible for me to do anything with my hair but have like an afro because it was so curly. Just over time, especially when you use products and stuff, you kind of loosen it up, straighten it out a little bit. Yep, Kobe, you're a little bit late. That's a really common quality about the super rich people. Spend so much time at work, not much time for anyone else. Yeah, no, and that's definitely him. He was definitely a workaholic, but not just a workaholic. He was an angry old man. It's because he didn't have real relationships where people cared about him. Like I'm talking about so nasty. like you try to be nice to him because you feel like, you feel like this guy just needs somebody to be nice to him, right? Like he's probably had nobody ever be nice to him or something. Like that's what you start thinking. But it doesn't matter. Did I get a perm? Yeah, I got a perm. Jared, any recommendations for an automatic, and what's your favorite automatic knife? Probably Protex. It depends on the size you want. You're talking about out the sides, right? I'm guessing we're talking about out the sides. So I like the Protec PT, or the full size Protec one. I think that's an awesome automatic. Protecs are probably my favorite out the side knives. If you don't have Protec money, I would say go for the Kershaw Launch 15. That knife is really good. I'm not sure if it's right here or not, but that knife is really, really good. The Kershaw Launch 15, USA made, Magna Cut steel. Jared, you gonna grow out your hair like Ben Peterson to see? No. So my hair's not quite like, my hair's a little bit different than his. It's free. I mean, obviously you can see it, but it's not quite as curly. Like his is more, I hate to be insulting, so, but his hair is a little bit more different curls. Mine are more thick curls. His are more loose curls, if that makes sense. But anyways, as far as out the side knives go, yeah, I would go with Protec or the Launch series from Kershaw. That'd probably be my best bet. I'm trying to try some of Piranha's knives. Hopefully we can get in contact with them. Sorry, Jeremiah. It's all right. Those guys will tell you to go F off anyways if you're nice or mean. Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Kobe. Appreciate the 2 bones. Thank you. What about the McNeese Max 2.0 or 3.5 auto? It's that or the TR-3. Yeah, I've tried them and they were pretty good. Those were good. I don't know how easy they are to get right now. I know right now you can get a PT right now. Go to my GP Knives link down in the description. You can go right and get one of these right now in all different colors. They got blue. They got a bunch of different colors. Just go check it out. And this is in Magna Cut 63 to 64 HRC. So they even did a good HRC on this. So that's why I'd say that one. But depends on the size you want, right? If you want a bigger one, then like I said, I would go with one of the bigger ones. What's up, Jared? Got my little Max Ace today. Do you think the kickstop makes a significantly better flipper or just pretty good? So the kickstop, it depends on which one it is. So what I'll say is that all kickstops are easy to fail, right? They're easy to fail. But if you give them a tiny bit of gas, they launch. So that's the difference, right? Like, obviously, there's flippers like this one that is like nearly impossible to fail. This is the Bag Knives Bodega. But with a kickstop, every single one I've tried, I can easily fail. But as long as I put effort, I mean, it cranks out there. So, and there's something satisfying about it because the kickstop makes it to where the flipper has more leverage than it would if it was attached. Because if it was attached, it'd be like way down here to have that much leverage. So since it's not attached, it allows it to have a lot more leverage. So I do think I love the kickstops. So I just want to make that clear. I love the kickstops. I love the Detent nubs. Those are my 2 favorites, probably the kickstop and the Detent nub. And I'd love to see them mixed together. But I do think it makes a significantly better flipping action as long as you add a little gas. And I don't mean much gas. Like it's just the type of way you flip it. It's almost like you have to do like a light switch almost or something, but it's kind of in between even a push button. It's weird. It's just different. So, but yes, it does make it kick like a horse when you add a little bit of gas to it. What's up, guys? Just tuning in after a long day of baiting tubs. Go halibut season. Good for you. Good for you. Good to hear you're working. That's always a good thing. Oh shit, I did not realize it could fail so easy. Yep. That's what kickstops are. But it's not that big of a deal. You just gotta put gas. And not much, right? I can't not add gas. Exactly. Can't not add gas. Just a little gas. Just a little bit. Austin Imports confiscated a $200 Tucson because it had a flipper. I forgot how lame we are. Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't thinking and it cost me. Never give up your guns. Please get me to America. Elias, I'm glad you said that because I am very, very, very much a gun advocate. Regardless if I can have one or not, I am very much a gun advocate for the country. I think it's super important. And, you know, we see why with other countries, right? So, yes, absolutely. I am a 2A guy all the way. I think it's super important to never give that up. Yes, the Chavez Redemption 229 is amazing. I agree with you 100%. You were the reason why I bought it. It's awesome, right? It's so good. Like, to me, it's my favorite Chavez. I have another Chavez in the other room that's somebody else's. And it's really good. Don't get me wrong. It's really good. But the kickstop's better. Kickstop's better. I was going to tell another story, but we only have 2 more minutes, so I guess I'll save that story for next time. It was just a little school fight story. Giant mouse giant mouse knife of the year. What do you think of that? Which one? The Rio? Was it the Rio? Because so I really like the large Biblio that's coming. That's a really good knife. I can't wait to get one of those. But the Rio, man, the Rio, if that's what you're talking about, is on point. I think that's what you're talking about. The Rio is badass. Such a good knife. I was talking about it earlier. It's just such a wieldable knife. It's a knife that, like you can really manipulate. You guys know, like there's knives that are just a little bit too big to like be to manipulate like really good. Then there's knives that are a little bit too small and they're easy to manipulate, but they're a little bit too small. This one's got that perfect size for a knife to just like to really wield and feel very comfortable in the hand. Oh yeah, the Integral. I do know what you're talking about. I have that in the other room. No, that is a good knife. Riet did that one. So Riet did that one. They did a really good job on it. I like it a lot. Knife of the year. I want to say yeah. But there's a lot of knives, so if they got it, good for them, man. Good for them. It's very expensive. It is an Integral. It is very well done. It's the best one I've tried from them. The fit, finish, tolerances, everything. You can tell it's Riet. Do you know what I mean? Like if you like that design, it's Riet. So obviously it's gonna be really good, and it is. So I can't argue with it. It is a good knife. So, and I have one, and I love it. But yeah. Guys, quick, ask Jared what his top favorite talking about for 15 minutes. I've been all over the place buying Max Ace and CJRBs. Just got a reblade on my Para 2 and love it. Spyderco is a quality knife all day. Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And make sure when you're buying those things, you're using my damn affiliate links down in the description. We got one with Artisan. You can buy all your CJRBs through our affiliate links, and we absolutely love it when you do. It definitely helps the channel out. By the way, you do a great job. Thank you. Probably one of the best reviewers out there. I appreciate that, RR. Thank you, man. Thank you so much. I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And I'm not trying to cut it short or anything. We've been here for 2 hours. I never want to make you guys bored. That's the thing. I don't like doing that because I think like anytime you get bored, then the next time there's another live, you're less likely to show up because you got bored in the last. It's kind of like dog training. That's the same way you train dogs. You never train a dog long enough that the dog gets bored. If the dog ever gets bored, give up right then. You should have stopped 5 minutes ago. You really only want to train a dog a few minutes at a time, because if they start getting bored, then they start thinking that by learning, it's a bad thing. It's not a fun thing. It's a bad thing. So you want to make sure they're having fun the entire time while learning. And if you do that every time you want to teach them something, they're excited to learn because the last time was exciting and they left off without being bored. So I got to treat you guys like some dogs. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, you guys are dogs. But no, I'm just saying, like, I think that can go for a lot of things, When if you guys are bored in here, well, then you're less likely to show up tomorrow. So I did tell you guys earlier, I didn't finish saying it, but I do have the self-defense knife video coming up tomorrow. It's basically the idea of it. Because everybody else watching this later probably won't make it this late, so I might as well just say it. But it's basically knives that are difficult to stop. Meaning, like, if you had to use a specific knife in a self-defense situation, how easy would it be, or how difficult would it be for the person to stop you from using it, right? There's a lot of knives out there that would be pretty easy to stop you, like if they have the jump on you or something like that. So they're not easy to use as a self-defense knife, right? Maybe they are a good self-defense knife once you have them in your hand and once you're putting them to work. But maybe, if the person gets you from behind, maybe they're not, right? So, like, what are the best ones that would work and give you the best chances of actually successfully using it without it being taken away from you, preventing you from deploying it, yada, 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 yada. So I got all the knives saved or lined up, and I will have that uploaded tomorrow. It's a fun video idea, regardless of what you think about self-defense knives. It's still a fun idea. And remember, in many cases, a self-defense knife isn't going to be used against a human. It's going to be used against, a rope or something, choking somebody or holding somebody, or, something like that. Maybe tending to a wound, maybe even an animal, something like that. But there is still, there's still lots of people that die every day from knife attacks, and sometimes their own knives. So I love you guys. Tommy Katana, shout out to you, man. I love the name. Thank you for becoming a new member, man. I appreciate the support. And I appreciate all the donations tonight. I appreciate all the love and support from you guys. I appreciate you guys hitting the damn like button, because I know you guys already did. So thank you for that. And then I also appreciate you guys using our affiliate links that are in the description always. We try to link everything always in the description for you guys. So, and I put a lot of work into those damn links for you guys, because I love that you guys use them. Until next time, peace. Don't forget Patreons tomorrow, the giveaway.